How does it work with distribution as well? Because this was, I assume, the lottery-funded prints for the.
I think so.
How does that work? How does that get your film seen more and get the word out there?
Well, I mean, I to be honest with you, you're asking the wrong person. But you know, having these kind of prints obviously enables them to go to more places, and I think, I mean, we've got a screening in the Thessalonica Film Festival in Greece and Adelaide, and the thing is that they just need to be, these prints need to be available to go out there.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was an incredible coup that we got screenings in Cineworld. Yeah. Which is like fantastic, and the guy there was brilliant. I mean, I just met him at a party at the film festival. He said, "Here's my card, I'm really interested," and that's not normal. Yeah, that's really not normal at all. So,
just to finish off my bit, and then we're going to watch one of your shorts. Tell us about the Singing Chippy, because it's quite, people are going now, aren't they? It's become on kind of the tour, the Donkeys tour.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing is that between my house and the writer's house is the Chippy. So as you go, and he just was singing one day. So there was a scene that was in an early version of the script, which happened to a friend of mine, is that somebody was in a chippy and people started singing Edelweiss, and then the whole thing erupted and everybody was singing it. So that's what it was previously. And then of course, as you walk past the chippy and there's this man singing opera, that you kind of go, that's better. And so the reality became fiction.
Fantastic. Right, we're going to watch a short now. Would you like to introduce it?
Yes, it's a short that I made quite some time ago called Home, and again it's the same writer, which is Colin McLaren, and I won't. No, I'll just that it will. Hopefully, it speaks for itself.
Excellent. And then we'll have a Q&A, if that's okay. Thank you, Morag. Yeah. What's changed between Home and Donkeys? What's altered? Is the life view still the same? Is the type of films you want to make still the same, or has it developed? Has it changed? Other than the donkey?
I think that the the desire to make something that's both tragic and comic is the same.
Yep.
I think for me, that's for myself and for Colin, that's something that we're very attracted to, because it's, well, I mean, Colin's a really, really funny person, and I think the thing is that in a strange kind of way, humour can be a sort of transcendent thing as well, and you know, life is tough, but humour is one of those things that can lift you up.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes the stranger things are, in a real way, the more profound it can feel. So it's like profound and funny at the same time is an attractive thing to want to do and be involved in. Yeah,
I think that, I mean, if you look at the first sequence with the two brothers, when they're actually on the doorstep and they're looking slightly different, would have been very easy to lampoon, but it's a real tender moment when you see them, because everybody's won in that situation. I think to pull that out in one shot is a real skill, to be honest. I watched this years and years ago with some students, and the question I used to always ask was, what do you make of that scene, you know, with the baby doll? so unbelievably, now that you're here, what was going on there?
Actually, therein lies a tale, because most of those the sort of montage sequences were, you know, written down like a man. I mean, they all ended up being a bit different, because in a sense, you know, we'd written stuff, but what happens on the day is completely different. And the man drowning the doll is actually the makeup artist. And at that time, we had just been filming the little boys jumping through the hose thing. And then out the corner of my eye, I was, what is he doing? And he was trying to chat somebody up. And he was drowning this doll in the thing. And I was thinking, if that's his idea of chat, this is really odd. And I thought, let's just film it. It wasn't part of the script. I thought, well, we'll just do one pass of it, film it. I said, take your T-shirt off, you look like a student. So we just filmed this in passing, and I think that, I mean, I was surprised it stayed in. I thought Channel 4 were going to say no chance, take it out, but actually I think what it does do is that it sort of confirms the strangeness of the world. Yeah. And I mean, he could be doing anything. You know, like he could be taking out his human frustrations. I think that's the thing, is it's so odd that you know, you project, there's an ambiguity,
Yeah.
and you can project almost anything onto it.
Because it reminds me very much of that scene in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, you know, when they first break out on the bus and there's people watching TV on the street rather than, and it reminds me of that kind of madness, and because you're not in on it, you don't kind of see it. So how important were short films to you to get you established?
I think they're vital, because you know, you can't just go into, I mean, I have to say, I went into making a feature and I still had an awful lot to learn, but I think they're a vital part of learning your craft, of getting used to not just the roles but the dynamics, and also finding out what your strengths and weaknesses are. And but on top of that, I think they are a valid form in themselves.
Right.
So you know, and I think they're a very important kind of learning tool, but I think they also, contained within them, there are really valid pieces of work.
Excellent, thank you. Do we have any questions that anybody's burning to ask? Go on.
I've got a comment and a question. I was very pleased at the end to see that you avoided the cliche. I was waiting for Brian to say, when the suffocation scene, say, "Oh, can't go ahead," but that would have been the Hollywood thing, you know. But that was also I think that's one of the most powerful scenes I've ever actually seen of the type. And I suppose the question is, how does an actor do that? You know, it would seem almost that you just couldn't go ahead and do a scene like that as an actor without cracking up in some way. It's such a powerful scene.
I think, well, in a way, I think I gave them enough space to get there. You know, if somebody's going like that at you, you don't have the headspace. And the thing is, I think that we all approached it with enough gravitas, because in a sense, Brian and James had really bonded, and they were very fond of each other, so in a sense they were able to bring their own emotion and their own sense of what the film was. And I mean, we did manage to have a little bit of rehearsal beforehand, but I think that we had discussed enough that we knew that you know, it wasn't going to kind of be waterworks and over the top emotions. It was all very restrained and kept in.
Yes, I love the way it was so constrained like that. Yeah.
And I think it's kind of it's that sort of beautiful male relationship where, I mean, obviously not all males are the same, but in that instance, that they don't show each other overt emotion, but it's in the dignity with which the thing is done, to a certain extent, that they show the love for each other.
So whereabouts in the shoot was that? Was that
really
near the end, or was it?
It was crazy. The whole thing went more disastrously long as the thing went on. So all the good stuff happened at the front for some reason.
So what scenes do you like when you watch it now? What are the memorable scenes for you?
I like the suffocation scene. I think that's definitely my favourite, and I'm really that's before everything went wrong, to be honest with you. But that's, yeah. It was all I think I'm really happy with that scene, and it was very calm, and you know, I think the thing is, how you feel about something, your intention translates. It should translate in the way that you speak, and it should translate in the way that you behave. And I think amongst us all there was this whole feeling of dignity and this whole feeling of wanting to respect the characters. And I think that's the thing, is like, you know, you can have a situation where you're laughing at a situation or you're laughing at characters, but if you really want to respect them, I mean, you can still laugh because you're laughing at the absurdity of the situation, but I think you get more depth out of it if you really, really try to understand the characters, and you really there's this deep respect, even though you know, you might think you're a failure your whole life, you know, you're still looking at it with compassion. Yeah. And I think that's one thing which for me is really interesting, and it's kind of like, I think that obviously that act is meant, it can be translated as an act of kindness, and it's an act of love, even though it seems contradictory. But that's what it is, and I think that's how we talked about it, as it is a deep act of love. And I think that's where the dignity comes into it, you know, if you see what I mean. Because the thing is, I think the one thing that I don't see very much in films or TV is acts of kindness. And I think they can be so incredibly powerful, you know, when you see that.
Yeah.
And it's so moving. And I think that, in a way, is, you know, an act of kindness.
Because one of my favourite scenes in it is the bit on the bench when he first meets his son. And forgive me, but there's that great line, you know, when she obviously didn't want to hold me back, and you know, I've done nothing for 20 years, and that whole humour in incredible sadness and loss, I think, is incredibly rare in drama today. And I think that feeling comes across in Home and in Donkeys, that it just captures that moment beautifully. And I agree. I think that end sequence is just great. Any more questions? Did you all enjoy it?
Yes.
Certainly, judging by the reaction, you did. There were more people in, but the buses in Dumfries are horrendous. I think they stop about 7:45. There are some cracking lines in there, and I'm sorry, and that's the third time I've seen it, so you tend to pick up on...
Glutton for punishment.
You know, there's a fantastic line, which I think Alex laughed at as well, about the, forgive me for paraphrasing, right at the end there, about Hitler and fun runs.
Yes.
If I remember. And it's just kind of pushed to one side. It's an absolute gem of a line.
It is.
So what you hope... Sorry, go on.
The punishing fun runs on the Führer's birthday.
That's right.
Yes.
So what's your hopes for the film? Because it's just been picked up for a distribution deal, is that correct? That's what I read last week.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah,
no,
I believe so, has it not? It was in the Cineworld, and...
Oh, well, it's in Cineworld, yes. So, I mean, we're absolutely delighted it's in Cineworld, because, in a sense, it's kind of not... I suppose you would expect it to be in more art house cinemas, I suppose, to a certain degree, but, I mean, it's wonderful that it's in Cineworld, and the guy from Cineworld's just been an absolute dream, and he's, like, really championing Scottish independent low-budget films, which is phenomenal. But I hope that there's a wider release to come. Yeah, one hopes.
Yeah, and again, I'm thinking of the Woody Allen line there about, you know, do you hope to achieve immortality through your work? To which he replies, no, I want to achieve it by not dying. And
I'd go along with that.
And one of the things about British films, of course, is that 10 years later everyone says, oh, that was a classic. Where were we? If you think of With Nail and I, to a degree, Gregory's Girl, there's a raft of these kind of British films. So I think it is great that it is getting out there and being seen, because distribution has always been a huge problem for British cinema.
And we're in the middle of a financial crisis, so who knows, you know, people aren't taking risks, and you know, so we shall see.
So how do you think those cuts will affect filmmaking in this country?
Well, I don't know. I mean, because there was something on the news about how cinema was going up because of the recession, but I think that, you know, unfortunately, probably where it'll hit most is the low budget end. But having said that, I think that in a way, now that there's been a sort of, you know, with technology being more available to more people to a certain extent, there's a sort of democratisation of filmmaking, which I think is quite healthy. And I don't know, it's also just, I think in a way, ideally, if in Scotland we become more sophisticated as filmmakers, and we also learn about international co-production more. I mean, doing the documentary that I'm doing, we're learning much more about international co-production, and that can really help facilitate it. So if we can start making links outside of the country and just being more sophisticated in a business sense and in a storytelling sense, I don't see why we can't do quite well in some ways. Excellent.
Morag McKinnon, thank you. Thank you.